This episode of Convert to Raid is brought to you in part by World of Tanks. Play for free and help directly support this show by heading to ctrdeal.com/tanks. Welcome home, Raiders. This week, Blizzcon tickets are sold out. Are you going to be going to Anaheim this November? More news, views, and interviews to recap on raiding and Warlords, and we've got special guests to help decipher it all. This is Convert to Raid 142.
You're listening to Convert to Raid, the podcast for raiders in the World of Warcraft.
Command Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is May 11th, 2014. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, to everybody that has a mother or knows a mother. Happy Mother's Day. It is now 11:13 a.m. Central Daylight Time. And thank you so much for joining us from all around World of Warcraft land. My name is Pat Krane. That's right. I'm also known as Zug from around Airy Peak, US, and I'm still raiding, still kicking it with the old Resto Druid. And we have some new players with us today. That's right. Let's see. This week, let's start from... Well, she comes from across the pond, but now she hails from Southern California somewhere in a bunker. It's Olivia Grace.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm early. I'm early. It's very early. It's very early on a Sunday.
It's so early there.
When I was back in the UK, this is at 5 p.m.
I know.
5 p.m. Such a sociable hour for a podcast. And now 9:14 a.m.
Right, exactly. And you're still doing everything over at ZAM and Wowhead and Skillcapped.
Yeah, ZAM, Wowhead, Skillcapped, you name it, I write for it.
It's internet heaven with Olivia.
I am the entire...
You are the WoW internet. That's it. Now let's head out to the other coast, to the East Coast, out of Beantown, raiding with something wicked on Whisperwind, US. He's a priest. It's Derevka. Hey, buddy.
Hey. How's it going, man?
Nice to see you.
Yeah. It's always fun.
Yeah.
We're classing up the joint. We have Olivia. We're representing literally the East Coast and West.
That's right.
I suppose you guys usually do
we got both coasts and then the Central Coast, which is me.
Yes, the Central Coast, that well-known central coastal area.
The Central Coastline. Yeah, exactly.
A landlocked coast.
Right.
I know.
Exactly.
Winter's coming and staying.
So now, normally at the beginning of the show, we talk about our raid week and see what's been going on in World of Warcraft. And, Derevka, what's been going on with you and Something Wicked and all that kind of stuff lately? Has it just been all farm, or are you still farm?
It's it's just exciting. Actually, you try to find ways to make the raid enjoyable. I shouldn't say enjoyable. That's actually a little bit more aggressive than I mean.
Find ways to make the raid enjoyable. I try. You know what? I try to find ways to make this not suck.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
That's what we're really looking. What we're really doing in Something Wicked at the moment. It's trying to make
it not suck. Right. No. But we are, we're having fun. We're bringing kind of like either former raiders that may have retired and getting them through a clear and getting them a mount. We actually just Perk joined us for a raid
cool.
last week, so we got her through and got her the garage mount. I did Holy DPS one week.
What? Holy DPS.
Oh, it's awful.
Holy DPS, Batman.
Well, how the new Shockedin, isn't it?
It's the new Shockedin. I just did it just to see what happened, and then
and how was it? It was horrible.
DPS to trial, which was like, oh
no,
oh, that's not good.
Oh no.
But it happens.
Well, that sounds like fun.
No, it's fun. It's fun. I mean, we're just trying to find ways to monopolize the time. Olivia, you'll be happy. Guess what I did?
Did you do PvP?
I did. I am so bad. I am probably better at PvP than I am making a plane. That was a really weird analogy I decided to go with.
That was strange. That was
kind of out there. It's like, right. I'm better at PvP than aeronautical engineering.
Yeah.
Right.
It just makes sense.
Right.
I mean, it's a low hurdle, but still, no. I mean, I think a lot of it, it's a gear gap, which is not the end of the world. That's fine.
Oh, no,
but like going in at like 496, I was going in with 496.
Why were you in there with 496? What were you doing? Like, would you? Derevka. Okay.
Sit down.
I'm beginning to think that you have heroic raid gear. Is that a reasonable assumption? That you have some heroic raid gear?
Yes, at 580. But still.
Right. Okay. So that's pretty okay gear. You're aware that is scaled down to 530 at the moment in PvP situations, and that's a far better choice than the 496. Yeah, you should probably do that.
But I was using the heroic garage tank trinket because I had it.
Oh well, why not? I'm assuming it's additional. Does it give you?
I didn't die. I flag carried.
Nice.
Well, that's good.
And just like chakra chastised people and then ran around and screamed and hoped I didn't die by the time I made it to the next time. And to be fair, I also was just doing randoms by myself.
Ooh.
So it was just more of like a like, you know, like Kermit gif where he's like, that's what I felt like.
Doing Kermit arms the entire way down. Yeah. That's what I do. When I'm
why not?
When I'm doing random battlegrounds.
Try it with your 480 PvE gear. Like the PvP power is a thing. Like it's going to be like Conquest gear is going to be better, and Honor gear is probably on a par with your raid gear. But
well, that's my challenge. And I think a lot of it is I never PvP ever, and I only did PvP back in the day where it was resilience or GTFO. Like if you didn't have resilience, you were dead in the water. Yeah. So that's my mindset still. Yeah. So I'm still applying that logic, and I know it makes no sense, but I was like, PvP power. I got a set bonus for 1,000 of it. I should make sure I have that.
It's perfectly and I completely understand why a lot of people do that. Like they think, okay, I'm PvPing. I have to have this PvP gear, and this low gear is going to be better. You've got 80.1% base. Sorry, with the resilience chest enchant and resilience bonus from the 2 trinkets, you've got 80% resilience base. So all you're trying to do is just crank out the heals, crank out the everything, and your raid gear is just fine for that. Your trinkets won't proc on players, but other than that, you're good. You're Alliance. Are you Alliance? You're Alliance, aren't you?
I'm Alliance.
Yeah, he's Alliance. We're both Alliance.
Are you a human priest?
No.
Night elf?
No.
What are you? I can't remember what you are.
Draenei. I always change.
Okay.
You're like, oh, so no racials that really help you. So
Gift of the Naru is better than a punch in the face.
Marginally.
Switch to human.
Age.
She's saying switch to human if you really want to PvP.
No, and I get it, and it's funny. See, this is just proof that like there's so much in the game that you can learn still. Like I know the PvE side. The PvP is just like meh.
Right. No, I'm
CC lock people down and hope they don't kill you before your DPS get them.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's cool. You're exploring new avenues. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, we just won't talk about it.
Liv, what have you been up to lately? It's been a while since I've talked to you.
Yeah, we haven't got to hang out lately since Legendary went on hiatus. It's sad. What have I been up to this week in the WoW universe?
Yeah.
I've been gearing. I'm now getting to the point in the expansion where I'm really getting my army of alts together, because I started playing on US servers.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, I want to get, obviously I need a shaman. Like first things first.
You need at least 3 of them.
I need a shaman.
You need 3 of them. Yeah.
I've only got one. I only need one now because of cross-realm arenas. So I don't, the reason I had so many in the past is because I was playing with friends on different servers and doing PvP with different server groups.
Right.
So I had one on this server, one on that server, one on that server. And that was, that was why I had so many. But now but I have a Horde one. I miss my Dwarf, because EU side I'm Alliance, but US I'm Horde. And I miss being a Dwarf Shaman. Dwarf is a really good race for a PvP Shaman because of Stoneform.
And if you do, we can always make a home for you over at the Convert to Raid Guild.
Yeah, I'll come and hang out with you guys and make you all do arenas.
Exactly. You're forgetting the most important part about Dwarf Shaman. Shaman, damn it. Is the magical power of spinning braids.
Yes, that is very important. That is very, very important. And it's, it's a key factor in any PvP. They could distract the enemy with your beautiful hair.
and now with the new models too, I mean, you're gonna get a lot more action.
The lady looks really freaky. Like, I honestly don't think it looks good. The lady dwarf just looks odd to me right now.
Right.
But yeah, what have I been doing? I'm getting my army of outs together. So I've capped out my shaman, capped out my priest, capped out my warrior, capped out my mage. So I've been doing a ton of arenas.
I bet.
Yeah.
Wow.
I also have an unholy DK, which, like, I was like, right, okay, I know how to play a shaman. I played a shaman for however many seasons. I know how to play a priest. I play disc. I resolutely and stubbornly play disc because I know I need to learn how to holy because I know it's better, but I really like disc. And yeah, Derevka's happy with this. But I was like, right, I've never had a warrior. And they're so strong this season. I'm going to get a warrior. So I'm going to learn a warrior and then leveled a warrior. And then I boosted a mage, but I'd leveled a DK. And I was like, right, I was gearing the mage and the DK at the same time, trying to learn 2 specs that I haven't played a mage since Cataclysm. And I haven't played a frost mage since season 1 of Cataclysm. So it's been a while. I was fire towards the end of Cata. And I was just like, how do I even this again? I was like trying to learn Unholy at the same time and then being like, my brain is melting. Like, I just don't know what I'm doing here. So I dropped the DK, the poor DK, the troll DK has been abandoned. And the mage has gone from being an orc to an undead because the undead racial is just ridiculously good at the moment in PvP. And she's been geared. She's now in full PvP gear. She's got 6 550 pieces, including weapons. And it's only taken me a couple of weeks. So
wow.
It's pretty good. 3 weeks to be precise. I finally found the character which is lucky on Celestials. It's taken me how long has the Timeless Isle been there?
Right.
It's taken me since then to now to finally have a character that's getting gear that I want from Celestials.
Since September last year, right? That's how long it's been?
Yeah, that would be about right. Yeah, so it was just around BlizzCon, wasn't it? Before BlizzCon.
Yeah. So
did you get your item that shall not be named?
Oh, yeah.
I still don't have the legendary cloak, no.
Oh, see, you don't have it because you don't have the cloak. I don't have it because the game hates me.
That's right.
I don't have it, and it's all my fault.
That's right. You both have an item named after you, and neither one of you have it.
I get so mad.
That's
every
so
time that it pauses. And nope, it's gloves. You know the coin, like the coin will spin. You're like, come on. It's like, oh.
Is yours locked behind Ordos as well?
Mm-hmm. Okay. All the name stuff this tier was locked behind Ordos.
Okay. All right.
So just a big old one of these. Right. See, I can censor myself now. We're good.
That was good. And for those guys that aren't watching the video show, you should really watch the video show because then you can get that reference. I'm not going to describe what happened. So there.
Yeah. Take that, people who listen.
Right.
Yeah.
Take that, audio people only. Wait,
I'll complain about it on Twitter, and then like Celestalon will just respond back at me with like he, and I'm like, you know what? If you have some sort of like BS code in the game that's like if player equals Derevka, then Derevka's gleaming girdle ! Equals never. Like I don't know.
Does anyone have like? Other people must have their items though, because didn't like everyone in Something Wicked get an item named after?
Not everyone. There's 5 of us.
Oh, okay.
Only 5.
A lot of guys getting stuff, but do others have their items? Like Magdalena got something.
Everyone in guild has their item, with the exception of me.
Oh.
And Magdalena is trying to get it on his priest just to be a jerk.
Nice.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Might as well.
That's sad.
Oh my god, neither one of us did a fortune cookie. I feel like we should.
No, I even had something. I even found something to do as a fortune cookie.
I have one too.
Okay, fine. Let's just rip off the Band-Aid right now, guys. Derevka, why don't you go first?
Okay, sure, why not? So fortune cookies say,
oh boy.
When when a disciplined priest is challenged to a rap battle, he responds with rap? Sure.
Oh,
I was very get it? Rap, sure.
Man, that is so bad. That is so
I
bad.
could have dropped the mic, I would have. Instead, I threw off my headphones.
My microphone's on the desk already. I can't get it. I could knock it off the desk, I guess, but then I'd have to go pick it up. So
I'll just hit it a couple of times or something. I don't know. All right. So, Liv, you have something as well?
I do. I have a fortune cookie courtesy of my new favorite Twitter account, which is Warcraft Stats.
Oh, yeah. Those guys are great, by the way. Whoever's doing that is
I know.
Really good.
I found it and I was so happy with it. I was just like, oh my God, this is so funny. I love this. And the one which I liked was, so here we go. Fortune cookies say,
oh boy,
88% of warriors fail in business because they charge too much.
Because they charge too much. There.
I like that one.
There. Here, hold on a sec. I'll give you both small applause. Oh, it's way down there.
Really
small applause. Small. Only because
Like,
it's you guys. If it was Coltrane, I'd ignore him completely. As normal. So
Yes.
So okay, let's get. I know that we have news before the Raiden news, and we should probably jump into it because there's a lot of interesting stuff that kind of happened this week, and it's fun, and we'll just talk. And this isn't going to be the normal show because we don't have the regular crew here. So I figured that we just chat about stuff as it kind of rolled down, and have a little bit different of a show. And like my wall of TV is down because I'm moving, and so it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like the regular show.
Crushed velvet, like your curtains.
Yeah, it's curtains. It's curtains.
Wait,
it's crushed.
Velvet?
Well, yeah, I mean it's because it's sound dampening. This is a studio still, so it's sound dampening. So that's why I have it like this. So
Nice.
And then there's a light like right above it, which is just like perfect. For
Yeah, it's very sort of like it reminds me of snooker. That's what it reminds me of.
Sure.
Like a snooker hall.
Sure.
Like a 1980s.
Is that some sort of weird English thing that I don't know what it means?
Well, it's billiards or essentially.
Oh, you guys don't call it snooker.
Well, I mean, we have pool halls. We don't play snooker around here.
Oh yeah, it's like pool but different.
It has like all the same color balls.
It's like pool in that it has a table and cues and balls, and you hit the white ball and use the white ball to hit other balls.
Right.
But that's about the only similarity.
Exactly. And then there are bumpers. I don't get it myself. All right, so let's get into some wow talk instead of talking about billiards. So this week, the big thing that happened this week was talking about BlizzCon tickets. BlizzCon tickets. Did you guys get your tickets? Do you have your tickets secured for BlizzCon? Do you both?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yes.
All
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Right.
No,
Now,
I was really fortunate actually. Derevka's making faces though, which makes me wonder if he's got his.
I've got questions for
I'm
Derevka.
not going.
I thought I would get a hug. I'm so sad.
I'll get to LA. We can.
Okay, right. You have
there.
to give me a hug next week when you're in LA.
No, I just have a really hard time. It has nothing to do with the money. It's just more like I have a very difficult time shelling out money for BlizzCon when I sincerely do not expect the expansion to be out at the same time.
Oh, that's
But
it.
you don't expect Warlords to be. So you don't expect Warlords to be out pre-BlizzCon?
No.
Oh.
I know they want to do it by September, which I don't buy. I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, I would be really surprised if they haven't cranked it out by BlizzCon. Like, if it's not out by... Like, that would just be so dumb. Like, that would be so stupid of them. And, like, while I could believe it would happen, I would be really surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think we're all kind of in the same boat, right? I mean, this is... If they don't put it out a couple of months before BlizzCon, that's a real missed opportunity for those guys.
Well, think about it from a timing perspective, though. Like, let's say it comes out in September, right?
Yeah,
and then BlizzCon happens. The timing of that is like right in the middle of the world race. So you're going to force people to pick which one they want to participate in.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Because we know that the raids are going to be staggered as well, like on a staggered release schedule, rather like we had with the first. Well, I suppose, would you consider Heart of Fear and Terrace of literally endless springs like a separate tier to Mogishan Vaults?
Literally endless springs. That's good.
Like, they really took that name literally.
Yeah.
Endless, literally freaking endless springs. But yeah, no, that's a really tricky question, actually. I hadn't even, like, as someone who's not part of that sort of group. I hadn't even considered the world first race. I would hope that they'd have it out a month before BlizzCon, but I can see that being a thing. Like, I can definitely see them mixing it up with the world first race there. And that would bring the onstage method versus blank race into a whole new dimension.
Totally.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I would love for it to be out then. And it's not like I'm lording my money over them, because you knew it was going to sell out anyway.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get my head around of feeling like I was endorsing it. And I know the con isn't even the reason to go. You go to see the people you want to see and hang out with. And I know I am kind of cutting off my nose to spite my face a little bit there, but like, I can still go.
Yeah.
But not go.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people that did that.
Just come to the CTR party. Because we're going to have that again. We're going to totally have that again. In a much taller ceiling place. So hopefully it won't be quite as hot. But but we are planning on having it. So you'll have to come out for that. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, last year I saw you for all of like a minute. Seriously.
That's not true.
It was.
I saw you the first day. And then at the party.
It just didn't feel like enough. I didn't get enough Derevka.
Derevka and I missed each other like ships in the night. I feel like we literally must have, like, we were in the same. I saw you at the Convert to Raid party, and you were in a conversation, and I was in a conversation, and I was like, right, once I'm done with this talk, I'm gonna come find him, and you were gone. Yep. For a big guy, you're surprisingly stealthy.
Special guys, bro.
You're like the Fell Reaver of BlizzCon attendees. You're like this huge buff dude who's just like,
yeah. Speaking of which, okay, so I was going around Outland this week because I was doing some old dungeons for Transmog gear, and I was, every time I go to Hellfire, I look for the Fell Reaver. Because I'm like, I just got to one-shot this guy to make myself feel better after all those years of just being stomped by this guy. And it took me a while. He is very stealthy, the Fell Reaver. And
Derevka.
Yeah, and Derevka. That was a great analogy. I like that. So.
Fell Reaver of Blizzcon.
Too bad you don't make that sound.
I know.
You should.
Someone on Twitter has the Fell Reaver sound as their. Someone mentioned it as their text tone.
I have it for. And I don't like to admit this, but my wife doesn't listen to the show. So I have it for the ringtone for my wife. And that's to make sure that I will pay attention to it. And that I will go, oh my God, the phone is ringing.
Does your wife understand? Like, does your wife play? Does she know the Fell Reaver? Does she understand what that noise is?
She played like 4 levels over the course of an hour on a Draenei Hunter. And she said, okay, I'm done now. She never looked back.
We had a similar experience, the two of us.
Oh yeah.
I kept on yelling at him because he was keyboard turning.
Oh God, yeah.
You weren't even supportive. You weren't even
like, no, like, use the mouse. Don't use. No, I'm like, stop it. Like,
right.
You're doing this wrong.
Yeah.
He's like, so I just keep on hitting this button over and over again until it dies. I'm like, well, you'll get more buttons. Right. Yeah. He's like, this isn't fun. He's like, okay, fine.
Right.
Yeah, I honestly wonder, like, particularly if you're someone who's sort of like a gamer already, whether trying to get a new person into WoW, you'd almost be better off with a boosted account, like, but going into Warlords straight with the level 90 boost. Like, I'm kind of undecided as to whether it would just be super overwhelming or whether it would actually be like, because I completely agree, like, particularly as a paladin, like, if you level a paladin right now, like, you're like, well, I've got Crusader Strike, which is on a 6-second cooldown. I've got my Judgment, which is on a blank, so I can't quite remember, second cooldown. And then I guess I'm just white hitting in between. This is the opposite of fun. Oh my God, I got a seal. Oh, it's the shit one. Well, it was awesome. Like, it's so bad. Like, the leveling experience for Paladin early on is just awful.
Yeah, it's not good.
No. It is not good. It's just like, if you were like, so right, okay, but a Paladin's a really good class to have as a new player, because then, you know, if you want, you've got the options. If you want to heal, you want to tank, you can DPS, you can do all of it, and relatively well. Like, I don't know that I know Rep Pallies are in kind of a funny spot right now, but I think they're kind of okay.
But and plus, if you're talking about a new player, they're not really expecting end game play necessarily. They're just
yeah.
So,
but like, you've got the options there, so it's a really good class level. Apart from the fact that the leveling experience is just horrible. I wonder if like someone like your other half would be better off with like, right, here's a 90. Look at all these buttons you have.
Oh, I don't know. That might be overwhelming as well. So who knows? But I did find this. So you may be freaked out right now. So
nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. But yeah, I am going to BlizzCon. I actually I haven't got a clue what's going on with tickets this year. So I actually went, and I went on the Saturday morning, this is Sunday, and I got into the queue. Well, I say queue. I spam refreshed. I actually have an auto refresh add-on for my Chrome.
Oh, nice.
So I set that up with a 5-second refresh and then a 1-second refresh. And I hit the drop down, selected 4 tickets, and clicked order now, and got 4 tickets. Right. I was in Mumble with a bunch of colleagues, and we were all getting tickets, and everyone got in. And
That's awesome.
Everyone got tickets. Well, actually, a few people actually left because we had then too many tickets.
Right.
Right. And I mean, I definitely sympathize with people who had problems, but I had none. It was smooth as silk for me. I'm not for a second saying to anyone oh no, you're wrong, the experience was perfect, because I know a ton of people had a ton of problems. But for me personally, it went like clockwork.
Yeah. And I think that was really the key, right? I mean, it was to go and make sure to experience this with friends, because then that way you could kind of team up and make sure that you have plenty of tickets. And that's what I did on the first night on Wednesday. And so it was myself and a couple of, I think there were 4 or 5 other people, and we had 2 people get in, and they got 8 tickets. So I mean, it covered everybody that we needed to cover, and that was it. So we were good. I know that a lot of people were blowing up about the process with Eventbrite, and they really didn't like it. I mean, I went into the waiting room, is what they call it. Yeah. And then I got actually kicked from that without getting tickets, but because I was with a group, I didn't care.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the problem was for a lot of people that were going in there singly, not getting tickets, getting booted back out, and then being really disappointed. Sure. So I don't know. And I'm sure that opinions vary about this, but actually you mentioned WoW stats. What is it? What is
Warcraft
the Twitter?
Stats.
Warcraft stats, the Twitter account.
Yeah.
Hilarious Twitter account.
And they said that 100% of the people that didn't get tickets had a bad time. I mean, that was essentially they don't like the system because they didn't get tickets. Yeah,
for sure. And it's like anything. If you, and I'm not, I really I hasten to add, I'm not saying that if you didn't get tickets, you're doing it wrong. There was only 10,000 tickets in each sale set. It was very easy to do everything right and still not get tickets. That's a thing that would definitely happen. I'm not saying that you are bad at buying tickets if you just happened not to get some. But that said, if you didn't get tickets, the very easiest thing to blame is Eventbrite.
Right.
Not that you were just unlucky, or that you joined the queue at 10:01 or 10 o'clock and 36 seconds instead of 10 o'clock and 1 second. It's easy to blame Eventbrite. And I can honestly say that I never bought tickets previously. Last year, I got a press pass, so I didn't have to buy a ticket. Right. But I didn't know what was happening this year, and I wanted to be able to go, so I ended up getting some. But so I have nothing to compare it to either. Right. So I don't know what the old system was like.
Right. Well, and I kind of get it. I was in both systems, and I didn't really find it all that different. It was just a question of, will I get it or not? It's just I didn't know when I was in the waiting room where I stood in line, and that was really the only difference that I saw. The only notable difference that I saw. Yeah. But really, I know what a lot of people that didn't get tickets can do, and that is this.
Blame, 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 blame. Celestalon, Celestalon. Blame, blame, Celestalon, Celestalon.
I had to bring that out again.
You had to.
Because it's always good. It's a fun song.
It is a fun song.
And from my understanding, he has it as his ringtone still.
Which is awesome.
Which is just really stupid. So the other thing that happened this week that is not rating news, actually there are a couple of other things, but the other big thing this week was that we had the Q1 call, from Blizzard. Liv, run it down. What happened this week for that?
The Q1 call, basically, obviously that's the investor call, which is for Activision to communicate to their investors what they're doing. It's not actually aimed at Warcraft players. It's aimed at people who put money into the company and therefore want to know what the heck Blizzard and Activision indeed are doing with their hard-earned cash.
Right.
And they then obviously announce, as part of that, they announce subs, they announce sales figures, they announce like ratings for their games, etc., etc. And part of that, they revealed that World of Warcraft has dropped a huge 200,000 subscribers in Q1 of 2014. Now, Q1, for those of you who aren't into the whole financial thing, is January, February, March.
Right.
So the first 3 months of 2014 is what they're reporting now. The Q2 report will come out halfway through Q3 and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I believe there was talk of a release period of September for the expansion or Q3 expansion release.
Right.
But I couldn't actually find that in the transcript. So I'm not 100% sure on that. That was hearsay from people who were listening to it.
And if you've ever listened to this call, by the way, it is one of the most dry and kind of very flat calls ever.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking. See, as a finance guy, I find this stuff fascinating.
It is fascinating. I mean, I'm ex-financial services myself. Like I used to do private equity real estate asset management for a hedge fund. I'm kind of all over it as well.
I'm not saying that the information isn't interesting. I'm just saying that the call is very, very dry.
It's the opposite of a Chris Metzen speech. It's a lot of the same content, but this is the two extremes of delivery. Is at one end you've got investor call, and other end you've got Chris Metzen. Like, there's no "this is geek" or "for the horde" in these investor calls.
No,
it's funny.
This is net reserves. This is diluted shares.
Yeah.
Alliance,
exactly.
horde. We have
Internal rates of return.
We have dropped 200,000 subs.
It's not like that.
Which is nothing.
That would be
particularly considering content drought. That's nothing.
No, that's a drop in the bucket. And we actually saw this the previous quarter. So in Q3 of last year, I believe we were at the same mark, and then it went up as Siege of Orgrimmar was released, and now it's back down a little bit. I mean, it's back down to the same player base.
They are a little bit crafty with this, though. Like, we had, obviously, I feel like they wanted to have a really strong first quarter for whatever reason. They wanted Q1 2014 to be a really strong quarter. So we saw Reaper of Souls come out. We saw Heroes of the Storm heading into Alpha. We saw Hearthstone's actual release into the great wide world, which I presume was just like they deleted the words beta from the Play Hearthstone website.
Gmail.
Right.
Like on Gmail, remove the beta from Gmail.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. And they also had, obviously, the Warlords of Draenor pre-purchase, which came with a level 90 boost. So they had a crazy first quarter this year. And I'm sure there's some like financial investor reason behind that. But I wouldn't be able to tell you what it was.
It's to keep the sub numbers flat. It's to keep all the players involved. It's to keep them there.
Yeah, it's to cater for the players. It's nothing to do with the investors. I don't even know what you're talking about.
No,
not at all.
No.
but yeah, I think the Warlords of Draenor thing. Sorry, randomly highlighting show notes. The Warlords of Draenor thing definitely would have helped that. Like, you say, hey, stay subscribed to the game. You all you have to do is give us $60 and you get a level 90. Like, that's a huge draw for people to stay subbed. So I think that has a lot to do with the lack of a subscriber drop, despite the absence of content.
Yep. Derevka, any thoughts on this as well?
No, I mean, typical stuff that you saw was people screaming around, "Oh my god, a sub drop!" You got to keep it in perspective. You know, if you map out what's happened, you saw that little spike, and then it's basically at the same point you were previously. I mean, 200,000 is not. I mean, it's a big number, of course, but relatively, it's not that much of a swing.
Right.
The numbers are the numbers.
That means it's staying fairly flat, and I'm kind of amazed actually that it's staying relatively flat and especially during a lull, but like what you said, the level 90 boost is something really big for a lot of people. I think they got like 1 million purchases of Warlords of Draenor just off of that. So that's pretty awesome.
It's big. I think that there's, I think there's going to be a bigger drop coming. Like, I feel like this Q1 is obviously a small drop. Q2 And Q3, especially if the expansion isn't immediately
Out.
in Q3,
Yeah.
Q2 is going to be messy for them
I
with
agree.
subs. And Q3, if we don't have the expansion, is going to be even worse. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see some really big drops in Q2, Q3 if the expansion, like, if we don't have beta in Q2, then they're going to have some problems.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and you know, we've kind of toyed around with June 3rd as being the time when they release beta.
Can't think why you'd think that.
No idea.
That's a very specific date.
I know. It really is. So we've toyed around with that around here, and I think that sounds plausible.
Well, it's very nice of them. They want to release it the day I get on board my ship for vacation. That's
what it is.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
it's like, oh, Derevka's in Italy. We should release the beta.
Oh, by the way, Italy is amazing. You'll love it. You'll
I'm going
absolutely.
to.
Oh,
It's going to be amazing. We've already
so
talked
cool.
about
Yeah, yeah.
It's lovely. It is a lovely place. I worked there a lot, so I kind of jaded about it. But it's a lovely country.
Yeah, there are some issues with it. Maybe we could talk after the show about that.
Yeah, we'll talk after the show about Italy. Let's keep it on topic.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not rating in Italy.
Right.
So it's not, and moving on.
No, yeah. So, I mean, 7.6 million subscribers, again, fairly flat. We'll see what ends up happening with the beta release, hopefully June 3rd. And, you know...
If they don't release the beta in Q2, I will find a hat and eat it, because that would just be so dumb. It would just be so stupid.
That would be the worst move ever.
What kind of hat?
A small one.
I can see a straw hat from where I'm sitting. So that hat, I can't get it because I'd have to get up and go there. But I will eat the hat that I can see. It's made of straw. It'll be tasty. I'll put it with some balsamic.
Yummy. Yummy. All right, just one last piece of non-rating news before we get into the rating news, and that is, this will be quick. War Crimes by Christy Golden is now on sale. You can go pick it up. And if you really want to find out what happens to Gary after the whole raid thing, you can go do that, right? Are you guys big into Warcraft books and into lore and all that kind of stuff?
I just don't like Christy Golden.
Oh no, we have a Golden hater.
I don't say I hate her. I just read Tides of War and I was like, how is this? This is not written in very good English.
Yeah, I have to say, I wouldn't say that I hate her. Like, I'm sure she's a delightful
she's a lovely
lady.
person.
Sure.
But I just, I read, I didn't even read a book. I read an excerpt from one of her books and was just like trying to put my finger on the reading age, and then like, is this okay, WoW is a 12 certified game. Maybe that's where they're pitching the reading age of these, reading age a concept that you guys have here?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was doing it in English.
No, yeah.
And like just the way she writes is bad. Like, I hate to say that, but I just don't like it. I don't know who she's shooting at with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not super interested in the lore side of the game anyway. It's like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you if you are, but it's just not my thing. And it's like, I'm having worked with WoW Insider for so long, they're all like, oh my God, lore. And I'm just like, okay, let me try and get into this. And I read this excerpt of this book and I was just like, well, this sucks. I'm not reading this.
Right.
And it's just like, yeah, not my thing.
Like, I think you're right. I mean, I'm not expecting Shakespeare. I'm not expecting like this phenomenal writing, but I think it was very much she didn't use a rifle. She used a shotgun to try to hit everything she's trying to do. And I mean, I think a great example for me is my litmus test. If I'm trapped on an airplane flying across the country and I would rather not do anything than read the book I have with me, then that's a problem.
Yeah. Like, if you're illustrating, you're doing like some kind of henna-esque art on your hand instead of reading this book. Then
Because that's what I do when I get bored. Is I just break out a Sharpie and I'm just like,
I will. I'll often just draw myself because I'm so bored.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Olivia, I couldn't think I could possibly love you anymore, but never cease to amaze me.
Oh my, yeah. And I'm not a big book reader.
The chat is disagreeing with us, saying that Tides was poor and War Crimes is much better.
Well, I've heard some really great reviews on War Crimes, so I'm not gonna say anything about it.
I feel like it's selection bias.
But I mean,
yeah, I'm also a huge literature snob as well. Like,
I've seen the books behind you in your
the books have had a sad demise, unfortunately. Like I love, like, and it's not saying that it's better, it's just saying that it's what I like. I love, like, Shakespeare. I really enjoy sort of the old, like, Wordsworth poetry and Keats and Yeats, and I mean, I loved Ulysses and
You
Finnegan's
were so
Wake.
English. I adore
So
you.
it's just my preferred taste isn't this.
right.
That's the problem.
Right. Well, I've seen reviews where just, you know, folks on Twitter have been saying that this is the best Christie Golden book out there, at least, because they were comparing it to Rise of the Lich King and stuff like that. So, you know, if you want to check it out, feel free. And before we get into the rating news, I do want to bring up our sponsor this week, which is World of Tanks. That's right. Now, you've probably heard of World of Tanks. You might have played it. But if you haven't checked out 9.0, which is the new thing with them, 9.0, you should definitely check it out. And if you don't know about World of Tanks, it is a free-to-play game. And with this free-to-play, it's not pay to win. You can unlock everything within the game without spending a dime. And with this new 9.0 stuff, it brings some really cool additions to the game. And I've been playing this quite a bit recently, especially with the sponsorship. I was like, I got to check this stuff out. You can actually do a new game mode called Historical Battles, where you and your friends can actually face off in these real historical battles, like the Battle of the Bulge. Kind of cool. And so they've added a bunch of new tanks. They have new tank texture models, all kinds of stuff. You got to check it out. And like I said before, it's completely free to play, to download, to play, everything. But you can help us out. You can help our show out by going to this URL, which is ctrdeal.com/tanks. Go there right now, download it, give it a try. It's pretty fun, and it's really quick. It's easy in, easy out type of gameplay where you can just go and have some fun. And go check it out. ctrdeal.com/tanks.
Calling all raiders from around World of Warcraft land. This is rating news.
All right, it's time to check out what's happening with rating news around World of Warcraft. Now that we are about an hour into the show, might as well.
Wow.
Well, you know, we're getting around to it. We had a lot to talk about before.
Yeah.
It's totally cool. Now, we had this week, we also, right after our show last week, Ion Hazzikostas went on Final Boss. He talked there some more about what was going on. Liv, I know that you had your interview with Ion as well.
I did.
And how did that go for you?
I was really happy. I was really unhappy with how long it took my stupid computer to render that interview. But I was really happy with the interview. Ion is just like, the dude is he's an ex-lawyer. Like, he used to be a lawyer, and you can tell by the way he talks. Like, he is so, like, eloquent and good at just putting out information. And that came out, I think, in both of the interviews. But I was really happy to just get a ton of what I thought was, at least to me, was new information out of him in that interview. And yeah, I had a great time just chatting with him. He's such a nice guy.
Well, and like, you ask him one question and he talks for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's great. I was like, I only need 5.
And he talks at blazing speed too, so he's like getting all this information out right to you right at that moment. It's like getting a WoW rating injection.
Yeah, here's a stat for you.
Yeah.
I also interviewed Chad Celestalon Nervig.
Yeah, we had him on the show
too. Yeah, exactly. I was transcribing both interviews, and I had my stupid computer blue screen of death halfway through the Ion one, and I lost 7,000 words of it.
Oh no!
So the transcript has never actually happened for that one. So I was just like, look, this is taking way too much of my time.
Right.
So apologies for that, the internet. But 3 minutes of Celestalon talking was around 450 words. 3 minutes of Ion talking was over 700.
Yeah.
The dude talks fast.
Well, and Celestalon is not the fastest talker in the world. We heard that on this show as well. And he takes his time. He's deliberate about what he says.
Are you calling him slow?
No, I'm calling him deliberate. No. I'm calling him deliberate.
He talks. He's very measured. He's very precise, and he's sort of deliberate in what he's saying. Whereas Ian manages to be precise just at incredible speed.
Yeah,
he's man,
he's on a different level.
Oh, that's also an East Coast West Coast thing. Because Ian's originally from the East Coast.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And Chad's from Washington State.
I don't actually know.
I don't know.
But yeah,
I didn't ask him that. Maybe I should have asked him that. Where are you from?
Tweet him. He's probably awake. Wherever he is, he's probably awake. Dude doesn't
sleep.
And he's like, well, I'm from Mogoshan Vaults, of course. So,
That's true.
I don't know. What now? Okay, so there were several different things that were talked about, I think, in both interviews at length. And one of them was garrisons. And I brought this up last week. I brought up your talk with him specifically because after you talked with him, I was still kind of concerned about garrisons, and I may still be kind of concerned about garrisons. How do you feel about garrisons now?
As someone who is not excited about questing, I mean, if they're not required for PvP, then I probably won't do them.
Yeah.
To be honest, I do want to raid. I would definitely want to raid. I want to, I'm trying to find a US side 10-man, not super hardcore horde group. And it's just like if you have one, let me know. But it's just I didn't like the farm. I don't like dailies. I don't really like quests. And I'm not that, the garrison to me is just not an exciting thing. I'm perfectly happy. My home is always Dalaran. I always leave my characters in Dalaran because everything's so close together and it's easy. And it's, that's where they live because there's an auction house and there's all this stuff in the same place and it's just a straightforward place to be. But the thing which is concerning me is the unlocking stuff through questing side of things. He said that, from my understanding of it so far, at least, from all of the information we've had, you hit level 92 or whatever, and you are issued with your garrison. You can't not have a garrison.
Right.
Have a garrison, do what you will with it. And then it's a matter of how you then go about populating that garrison. That's where it changes. And for I have every intention of LFGing as far to 100, as I can. That's how I level. I get some friends, I heal or I tank, depending on what I'm leveling, and I will just spam dungeons until and I know Derevka, we were talking around Miss Pandaria about the World First race.
Yep.
I remember that. And I remember you saying that you were just going to be doing dungeons up to a certain point. I can't remember where you stopped. 87 or something. Yep. Yeah. And it's just that's how I prefer to level. And I know it's slower, but I like it. I like doing group content. So I'm really worried about this thing. And I'm just hoping that if they do it with quests, it's not like a quest where you're right, go back to the start zone and find these bull eyes. Take these eyes to this guy. 48 quests later, you get a follower or a dude for your garrison or a new hat for your building or something. And it's just I'm really hoping it's not that. If they're going to do it with quests, at least make it 5. So those of us who are not super hardcore into questing can be all right, I need to go get this level 3 mage tower. So here I go. Here's a mage. Oh, I got some mage fingers and some iron and a cauldron for him, and now I have this.
Mage fingers? Whoa.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but I would do a
fingerless
ton of
mages.
quests. I'd do a ton of quests if my stables could get a hat. If your building gets a hat, that was your example. No, but I think Ian seemed to really have made it a point, kind of while so much of what our experience in Draenor is going to affect the garrison in some capacity. And it sounds like that they're leading us down the path that both questing and dungeoning, what we do in those places will have some sort of effect on our garrison in some regards. Your garrison really is kind of your touchstone for all of Draenor, really. And they've made it pretty clear, being you're going to want to do it, but they don't want a repeat of the daily system or even the farm system where you feel that you have to come in and do it every night. Like, because that's what happened. You're like, oh, okay, so raid starts at 9 p.m. So that means at 8, I got to log in and do my dailies and tend to my farm, because if I don't, that just means I'm going to be this much far behind on my coins, and I won't have my free, herbs or potions or whatever that I'm getting from my farm for that day. I think what they need to do is they need to put something into place that allows some sort of catch-up aspect. Like, if I can't do it Monday to Friday because for whatever reason it's work nights or school nights or whatever the case may be for individual players, but you should be able to kind of do what you have right now with VP. Like, if I want to log in at 9 a.m. on Monday and do 3 hours of it, I should be able to catch up.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I got the impression that once you have your garrison sort of up and running, so to speak, your time investment, like, they can go out and do quests which last a week. Yeah. So your time investment is going to be occasional rather than daily. So that's something. Right. Like, that's something to hold on to at least. So, and I know I have a sneaking suspicion that raiders of Derevka's caliber, like the sort of the racing guys, are going to be thinking, right, I need this chance at this extra gear. And I will continue to need this chance of this extra gear until I outgear everything I can get. So it's kind of going to be a thing with where they put the item levels as well, I suspect. Mm-hmm. But like, unless you are the luckiest person on the planet, you're not going to be able to fully gear yourself before you are able to start getting those items. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that turns out.
Well, one of the things that was said in the final boss interview was that, especially pointed at Mythic Raiders, was that Mythic Raiders should be fine if they don't do anything with their garrison. And I thought that was at least hopeful. But
it's like should be fine.
Right.
Will be fine. It's not you can ignore this. And it's like, it's like 100, like an analogy that a friend of mine uses is it's like 100-meter race. And like, okay, you have to go 100 meters. If you're a sprinter and someone like, it's going to be a tiny gear advantage if you do it. Like, if you're a sprinter and someone said to you, hey, you can start at 99 meters. That's cool. Would you take that? It's like a 1% advantage.
Or actually,
you'd still take it.
What I would compare it to is it would be like, okay, we have this 100-meter race that we're going to run, and okay, now we have shoes available for you. You can either use them or not, but these shoes have like extra grip, and it's raining out, so you might want to use the shoes. And if you don't use the shoes, you might slip and fall and break your neck. It's that type of thing. I think they're saying the right things, but do they actually mean it?
I think it's the case of like when you're in your questing greens, this is going to be an upgrade. And if you're like particularly like Derevka is a person who should be weighing in on this, not me, because I'm certainly not a world first race raider. Of all the things I am.
Not that.
Not that. Mm-mm. But like, I can't imagine that if you're in questing greens, you're not going to take every opportunity to get additional upgrades. Right. Regardless of if they're LFR quality or whatever.
So, Derevka, you should weigh in on this right now.
No, I mean, that's exactly. No, I mean, there's little things beyond even just gear, and you can utilize the WoW Head Garrison calculator. See what I did there?
Oh, yeah, nice.
You like that.
I know. No, but a great example is the stables, I believe. It actually has a mount speed bonus. And if you don't think that's going to have an impact on both PvP and PvE, I think then you have another thing coming for it. Like, that's just speed. Like, if anything, it's speed for you to get the stuff you need to get done, like day to day. Even if it's farming herbs, like if you have, a casual player and a hardcore player, and that hardcore player has the mount speed bonus, and they're trying to farm for flasks and potions for that raid encounter for the evening, they're going to be able to do that so much easier because they're going to have the 20% speed, whatever the bonuses ends up being. Yeah. But there's lots of little things that you can kind of get done and not have to worry about. And I think it's a little disingenuous to just go with, you should be able to do this.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's true. You could have cleared Siege of Orgrimmar without using coins, but
right.
Yeah, sorry, typing there.
That's right.
And it's like
you don't need to.
True. No, and I like until the Timeless Isle opened, I didn't get a single coin. Like I didn't. And then I just abjectly, flatly refused to do daily quests to get coins. And yeah, like now I have thousands and thousands and thousands of the things. But it's just like I just, someone mentioned it in chat room. The mount speed perks almost certainly won't work in PvP. Any kind of like instant mounting, stuff like that just doesn't work. Like it just flat out doesn't work, and particularly not in rated PvP. But yeah, it's just like if you're farming stuff and maybe like Ashran, on Ashran they may well work. Right. And if you think that you're like, if you have the potential to move 20% faster on Ashran, you'll take it. You'll take it. Like absolutely categorically.
The priest only Ashran weapon.
Yeah, the flying thing.
It's awesome. What is it? What is it? Describe it. I haven't seen this.
It's a priest only staff that only works on the PvP island. Yeah. And you basically levitate 40 yards above the ground and can attack from the sky.
What?
Isn't there like it has a chance to disappear or something like that? Like it has the staff has a chance to disappear.
If you leave the island, I think it disappears. So it's kind of like the weapons on Timeless Isle now that you get the extra action button.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Or like the Claxy things that only work in Dread Wastes or that kind of stuff.
Right. I mean, it seems like it's kind of like that, but that would be kind of awesome. Just kind of flying around.
I love that it's just
penanting from the sky.
No. Spite.
So, I mean, I think a lot of the things that Ian said were of the same nature, right? You don't have to do all this other stuff, but you know, the way that Mythic Raiders and especially those world-class Mythic teams are kind of geared in the head is that they need to maximize everything in order to make sure that their team moves forward in the proper manner so that they can do the world race, so they can be super competitive. And I know that we've gotten letters on this even this week on, you know, from people that are not in Mythic rating now. Maybe they're just doing LFR, or maybe they're starting to get into Flex now, and they don't necessarily understand what that mentality is. So Derevka, what is it that you strive for on your team, and what do other teams like yours really go for? What's the mentality behind what you do?
I mean, like, we're not like a method by any stretch of the imagination. No. In the grand scheme of things, we're, you know, on the more casual side of the top 50,
but you're competitive. You're
right.
Competitive.
No, we are. You're right. I mean, not to dilute the point, I suppose, but the point is, like, you need to get every possible advantage that you can get within the game. And if you're not, then you're leaving potentially player power on the table. And that's a term that I think a lot of the devs tend to use, is if something provides player power, that they have to then be careful and make sure that that's not getting out of balance. You know, if it's more just little conveniences, that's an entirely different beast. Like, something that I would consider a convenience are the reforged mounts. That's a convenience, not necessarily immediate player power, but something like, oh god, I can't even think of anything immediately off the top of my head. Like getting additional coins, that provides an immediate player power. That's what made dailies, particularly early on when you didn't have other ways of getting dailies, getting the coins besides dailies, like the Timeless Isle, provided player power. So you had this time investment for that, or running multiple alts through where one fight may favor one over the other. That provided an additional advantage that your raid may have over the other. So I don't know, getting back to that same statement, like, you don't need the garrison. Like, Mythic level raiders will be fine without it. Yeah, you'll be fine, but if you're leaving any form of level of power on the table, that's not going to happen. Even probably even argue up to probably top 100 in that. And as far as from a guild PvE perspective, any guild in the top 100 is going to probably make sure that they're maximizing every possible little ounce of benefit that they can get.
Right. And that's really the biggest thing, is that these top level raiders, they are just so driven to compete at that rank, and they want to make sure that their rating is way up there, so they will go and try to take every single advantage that they can to do this. And this actually even happens with when you're talking about raid lockouts. I know that there's a lot of concern from top raiders again about raid lockouts, not because not because they're necessarily concerned about having to clear content. I mean, because they'll be able to clear the normal and heroic and stuff pretty much after the first week, but they'll be repeating that, and that part isn't the fun part for them.
Yeah.
It's just,
Ian said to me, like, if we were designing this content for the hardcore raider, we wouldn't design it like this. Like, his thing seemed to be, we're not going to pretend this is optimal if you're in a top 100 guild.
Yeah. Right.
But like, spoilers, the majority of players aren't.
Right. and I don't think that there are Mythic players out there that don't understand this. That they're like, oh, it's a big surprise. You're not going for the top 1% of players? What? Come on, Blizz, what are you doing? Or the top half of 1%? Whatever it is. And that is a real thing that heroic raiders have had to deal with for a long time already. So I don't think there's any surprise there. It's just, come on, it's just not fun. This is not what I want to do. I don't want to leave anything on the table, but at the same time, I also don't want to feel like I'm leaving something on the table by not doing this stuff.
Right, and I think that's the real salient point that the three of us are trying to make here. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be like, okay, if you're a top 100, you're doing this. It's more of the individual players, kind of like their mentality. Like, you could have someone in a top 1,000 guild doing the same exact thing. Right. Like, wanting to get absolutely everything because they don't want to leave anything on the table. Just because they're in a guild that's ranked 900th doesn't necessarily mean, like, it's that whole like casual versus hardcore argument, which I think is a little bit of a straw man in situations like this, because everyone wants their player to they want their character to be more powerful and to do all the big damage and tank the big bad bosses. So if there's anything that you can do, and that's more of a player mentality thing, to get that advantage, and you elect to do it, that's the whole point of the discussion that we're having. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you're in a method or a vodka or whoever else, and you're trying to get all that done, it's that I think is the more concern.
I would argue that even the LFR player, if they are only doing LFR, they're doing everything that they can within their time constraints, within their constraints in real life, to make sure that they are getting the player power that they want to get. And it becomes this driving force. Well, I don't have all my gear from LFR, which is the only thing that I can do because my schedule is so weird, or whatever the case may be. So you go in week after week after week as you can, to make sure that you are getting that gear and getting that player power. I think it's the same kind of mentality in a way. It's just it's scaled way back, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think also, like, one of the things that I brought up to Ian when I was chatting with him is, like, the community has this habit of splitting things into, oh my God, like the Mythic Raiders, top 100 or top 100 aspirational guilds who are doing content in this way. And then at the other end, you've got like the sort of the more casual people who don't, like, I hate using the word casual, but it's the best way to describe it, who don't have the time to commit to very regular high volume raiding, and therefore end up doing LFR because that is their time constraint. They tend to do this sort of like, right. But the thing which like worries me a little bit more is all the people in the middle, like the Mythic Raiders will gear themselves to that point, and then they will not be doing this repeated content again.
Right.
The people who are like, right, I want to be a something wicked level. I want to be a method level raider. But here I am, like, in my team, we're like 3 bosses into normal, but I'm doing LFR, I'm doing flex, I'm doing normal, I'm doing my garrison, I'm doing my challenge mode, I'm having my valor, I'm doing all of this stuff, and I'm keeping doing it because the level I'm raiding at doesn't permit me to get the stuff. Sorry, when I'm saying normal, I mean current normal, so heroic in freaking rename.
It's so difficult. It's so hard.
Yeah, and it's like, but those people, they're the ones who are going to really suffer here, because they're the ones who have all of these options, which are still rewarding them upgrades. Like the Mythic Raider, the Derevkas level raiders are going to be like, all right, now I'm done with this relatively quickly compared to those people in the middle. And that's the biggest bracket. That's what concerns me, is the people who will feel, because they're 10, like my EU guild is a perfect example of this. 10-man normal, they just like started moving there. I think they're 4 or 5 bosses down in heroic at this point in the expansion, so they're not like crazy progressed raiders, but they will do, like, there's one guy, this Italian dude called Icky. He goes out every week and he does every single thing that can improve his gear by 0.001%. And he has done since the expansion launched. And it's just like, that guy is the potential issue here. It's just like those people who can still get upgrades from all of this content, like, they're the ones who I'm worried about.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, as time goes on, you'll find that those guys are the ones that are kind of being, you know, trapped in this in-between stuff. So it's going to be kind of weird. It's going to definitely be weird. But it sounds like, you know, after the first few weeks of Warlords, when that first comes out, that yes, Mythic players will probably feel the need to run like all the different modes of raiding, but then after you start collecting that Mythic gear, you should be out of there fairly fast. Is that your understanding there, Derevka?
I mean, that's what it sounds like. I mean, I think everyone is kind of expecting to run it a couple of times. Both, you know,
sure.
Because at the end of the day, gear is gear. It's going to be better than what you have.
Yeah.
Particularly if they do the leveling process and the gearing process as strong as they hope to. But you'll always see that, particularly on like first tiers. First tiers tend to be very, I don't want to use the word punitive, but punitive if you don't do that multiple run to get all the stuff you need. Right. It's less than you're going from, like, you know, one tier to the next tier that's not an expansion starting tier, because you kind of already have a baseline, and you may have already gotten whatever the Heroic Warforged version of something that is, and the gap between gear tends to be a little bit smaller, but the gap exists much greater because you may not have had it. Particularly the first couple of weeks, we only have, you know, the 2-week period from the launch to the first raid of getting dungeon gear on what you need, and you have, I mean, obviously lockouts work a little bit differently from dungeons and raids, but the gear gap at that point tends to be a little bit more punitive than it is cross tier. So that first tier tends to be a little bit more, all right, what can I do? How can we min max this?
That's your busy time.
Well, do you run multiple runs and have gear being, you know, basically funneled to main tunes and alt tunes or running them?
Right.
You've never done that. It's kind of like a rule that we have, is we just don't do that. It's something that we don't particularly like it. It's just something that we do. Maybe that's the differentiator between some of the guilds above us, but we just simply won't do alt.
I mean, I suppose it's something like, if you guys have that kind of, like, say, I don't know how many hours a week do you guys raid during progression as a rule?
You do 3 days a week, 4 hours each night.
So 12. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's like, you're going to still be doing that amount of raiding. It's just the time outside of that's going to change for you. Like, I can't imagine, like, you know, that's the different commitment. So I suppose the repeated content, you're only going to repeat it so long as it remains economically viable with that time versus the upgrade availability. But, like, it's the stuff outside of that raid time where you're going to be, like, hurting for extra commitment, I guess.
Right. And then with how flex raids go, I think you'll probably see a lot of guilds having, oh, look, these 12 people do want to do this on an off night, and they'll do it because they have that flexibility now that they can do that through flex. But
right. Well, and don't forget that all the other, you know, all the other content is going to be totally flexible. I mean, you'll have normals and heroics both as flexible content, which is actually kind of the best part of the whole thing as we have these guys gearing up, because you'll be able to kind of say, well, I really need I really want to get that trinket, but I don't want to do the whole thing. So if there's a team already going, I'll just jump in on this one boss and see if I can grab it, and then I'm out of there because I don't want to burn out. I don't want to do all this other stuff. So so you guys
and I mean, also,
go ahead.
Like Ian mentioned that after a certain amount of kills in a given difficulty, they would be looking at doing some kind of item that could attune you to a given boss. So say boss 5 drops a thing that you really want. If you can persuade your raid to do it, you could literally zone in, do boss 5, zone out.
But you know the way that it's going to go, right? It's going to be that the what you get to move you forward, it's going to lock you out right after the tier piece drops.
Yeah,
from
something like
one
that.
boss.
It's going to be a problem.
Right.
Or like, the piece that I want comes from boss 3, the piece that Pat wants comes from boss 2, the piece that Derevka wants comes from boss 9.
Right.
And it's just like, how is this even going to work?
Right.
Exactly.
Like, we're going to end up doing this whole raid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
In some kind of weird parallel universe where you two would carry me through your raid.
Right. I'd be.
But you're Horde, aren't you, Horde?
Yeah, she's Horde.
Yeah, I'm Horde. At the moment on US, I'm Horde.
Dirty
I'm going to
Horde.
make an alliance too.
Dirty Horde.
Olivia, what are we gonna do with you?
Oh, I know.
How
you gotta solve a problem like me.
We can get you like an H-1B visa to have come over for your raid. Like, oh, no problem. We got one.
That's funny. That's funny. Now, was there anything else? I mean, I know that we've kind of talked around these interviews, and Liv, you did one, so that's great. Was there anything else in these interviews that you thought was really interesting, really cool, or maybe even challenging for some of the things coming up in Warlords? I don't know.
I think like one of the things that it's going to be really interesting to see how LFR pans out and the group finder. Like, to me, what they're trying to do is market their group finder system as a thing that's going to replace LFR for people with that time constraint. I get the strong impression, although no one has said it in so many words, that what they're trying to do is push the I can only raid one night a week and maybe it's at 7 and maybe it's at 2 a.m. raider into this group finder to be pugging the what's currently Flex instead of doing LFR. And that to me is going to be a big shift and a big experiment for Blizzard, and I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out for them.
Well, and one of the very interesting things about that is after these interviews happened, Ian actually went back out and he put out a new blog post that says changes in patch 6.0 before Warlords. And one of the things that was really interesting about that was that where is it? They're removing Flex from the raid queue. Sorry, that's something else. That was something else. But aren't they doing something with LFR and increasing the group finder right there? Is that what's happening? Is that what I read, or is that what I thought I read?
I will have to just double check that blog post real quick because I don't remember seeing that, but it's entirely possible that I just missed it.
No, I thought it was just the.
I think I was
say the group finder tool will be available,
right?
Designed to help players create and find groups for normal and siege.
And I think it was all in my mind because I think what I saw was Flex raids will be removed from the queue, and I thought LFR because it's so confusing. All these different things.
Yeah.
All these different difficulties.
Rename sucks. The rename really sucks. And I can understand why they're doing it because they go, like, everything's Flex now, so they don't want to call it Flex because everything's Flex. Right. But then the rename sucks. Like, what were they going to call it? LFR, easy, normal, heroic? Like, what was that one between LFR and normal going to be called, if not Flex? So I see where they did it, but it's still really freaking confusing.
Right. It will be interesting about this new group finder tool, and I know that some people have been using it already and having great success with finding people for Celestials. And
for clarity, that is not the group finder in the state that it will be released with 6.0.
But it is something.
I implied that in a blog post, and I got so many emails from Blizzard. Holy crap!
Well, thank you for saving us from lots of emails about that one point, which I'm sure would happen with us too. Yes.
When you get an email from like Zarheim and Bashiok and Ion Hazzikostas and Chaz Nervig within like 5 minutes, you're like, sugar, what did I do?
Oh, sugar.
They're inviting you to a party, no?
Oh, sugar.
That must be it. That must be it.
But I think I'm really, like, they basically, as far as I'm concerned, they need to build OQ. Like this group finder, if this group finder is going to be good enough to replace the convenience of solo queue LFR, it needs to be something pretty special. They need to build OQ, but better. Like they need to make an OQ that is, I mean, what would I improve? Like the eye level selection thing, which they're putting in, that's a good change. So you can't request an eye level higher than your own.
Right.
But they need to make it, they need to make a really good system. Like, and I don't know.
Make it so it doesn't spam real ID.
Yeah, that's actually a problem that's created by the person not disabling it properly. But
no, I know.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like someone logs in. OQ.
It'll at least be working through require BattleNet, as far as I understand it. So it won't even run via BattleNet.
Right. Well, OQ
it'll use your real ID, but it to join in, but it won't actually be run via Battle. Like the way OQ works is via BattleNet invitations and chat. Like it sends that spam you see is
spamming BattleNet to the point that it actually crashes it.
It broke. Well, that's why they added the new add-on specific channel with 547 was because OQ was literally breaking BattleNet.
Yep. Right. Even though that they told them this is going to be a required change, and then they just didn't change it in the OQ add-on. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, but I think there's going to have to be something really. It's going to have to be something really, really special to make it so that those LFR raiders that they're aiming it at are actually incentivized and able to move into Flex.
Well, and I think that there will be some incentive, especially with the way that they're doing raid. The introductions for raiding in Warlords, where they're having normals and heroic available from the first week of raiding. So it'd be the second week after the release. And then the third week is when you get Mythic and LFR starting to come in. And for those guys that want to get in on any sort of raiding before LFR comes out, they can at least jump in to a normal run and maybe check it out from that angle. And that's my hope anyway. Because I only think I've never I don't know if I've ever really expressed this opinion on this show.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
But and it's not really going to be a big surprise. I don't like LFR, and the biggest reason that I don't like it, I know this is really world changing. No, but the reason that I don't like it, and I know that I've stated this on the show, is that the biggest fun that I have is with friends, anywhere that I go, and so raiding in LFR is just so opposite of what I think fun is in this game that, LFR to me is just something I never want to do. Yeah. I just don't want to do it. And so I make time to make sure that I can raid with a team. That's why I do that. That's how I play my game. I think that introducing people to this via, just stalling out on release of LFR is actually a really good thing now that we have Flex in place, because Flex rating for normals and heroics for Warlords, because that will increase the chance that these people will at least try it and see what it's like. So that's my little soapbox moment for this show. And it's not shocking. It's not shocking.
You made a real good point last show talking about that it was important that there is a gear differential, even visually, between LFR and beyond, because you kind of lose that whole where'd that person get that really cool shoulder?
Right.
I want that. Maybe I'll go do Flex or normal through the group finder tool to get that. And I think a lot of people falsely said, oh, this is just so that the heroic raiders don't have to run LFR to get tier gear. And that's maybe this small minuscule fraction of it, but it's actually adding a carrot to, in carrot and a stick type of reference, not an actual vegetable, but a carrot.
Maybe they will. Awesome who knows? They might actually add carrots
juicy
to the
crunch
armor.
Carrots. Yeah, juicy crunch carrots.
They should do that. They should add that. They should make some kind of item that is somehow a carrot and a stick. Yeah. They should put the carrot in only in normal or above, and the stick in LFR.
That'd be a great trash drop, trash.
Oh
no, but
it would be heroic.
They're adding
trash
it as it would have to be heroic, right? Heroic only. And it's incentivizing people to go do that, not disincentivizing them from doing LFR. And I think people are, or at least the LFR raiders today, are viewing it as this big takeaway, and they're forgetting how the tuning of LFR is going to change in Warlords. They flat out said, he used the 4-letter word and referred to it as tourist mode. And it sounds like they want, if you don't have the time, but you want to experience the general, I saw the boss, I understand the lore behind the boss, I got to see the cool landscape around the encounter, then just go do LFR. It sounds like they're making LFR truly the more single player experience.
Right.
And everything else is the M in MMO, right? So, or the second M, not the first M.
Whatever.
But yeah, whatever.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's actually like I think it's a really good point. The carrot versus stick thing, although I'm sure it's something that developers are just like when people bring it up. But I think it's really important.
Well,
I think it's really important to sort of not to make, like, particularly once you put something in a game, it's really hard to take it away.
Yeah.
And I can completely understand, and I do sympathize with people who feel like the removal of particularly set bonuses from LFR is something that is very negative. It's something that they don't want to see, et cetera, et cetera. And I get that. I do. And this is kind of why I'm sort of like, I personally don't really run LFR because I don't like it. So like, I'm very selfish with my PvE gaming. It's like, if I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. It's like,
well, and like, again, you
do your dailies. Like, no, I'm not going to do my dailies. I'm going to do PvP and use that gear.
But again, I mean, you said it at the beginning of the show that you really like group content. You really, that's your thing, is group content.
Yeah.
And if you're solo
it.
playing, that's not really a group thing. So
yeah, I'm funny in that I love group content. I love playing with friends, but I also really enjoy randomly match-made group content. Like, I loved tanking the troll dungeons. The 4.3, the Zula Manzel group, was it 4.1? I can never remember.
No, it wasn't
4.2.
4.2?
4.2. Okay. Yeah, that one. Anyhow, but it's just like I loved tanking those dungeons, and it's probably because I'm a bit of a control freak or something, but I was just like, I loved, like, if it wasn't working, I liked helping people. And I remember, like, early Dragon Soul LFR.
Yeah.
Like, I was going in, I played a Paladin tank all the way, that was my PvE main all the way through Cataclysm, was a Paladin tank. And, like, going in and helping people and being like, right, actually sort of raid leading almost. And it was really fun to me to take a group of, like, just the idea of a group of complete strangers working together to achieve something difficult, to me, is really cool. Like, I love that about WoW. The problem is that now LFR's become so toxic that it's not like it was in early Dragons. Early Dragon Soul, I loved LFR. I thought LFR was the best thing ever.
It was funny. Like, it was really funny.
So much fun. Like, I mean, and I was EU side, which helps a little bit. Like, I think EU pugs are a little bit nicer than US pugs based on my experience both sides of the Atlantic now. Like, EU side is very
shots fired.
I mean, it's just like they're not better at the game. They're better at being kind to each other.
What? No.
And it's just like you go. I remember going into an early Yorsage Dragon Soul LFR, and like you had I can't remember what color. I think it was red. If the red oozers got to the boss, like, everything was awful for a little while in LFR. Like, there was one particular color ooze that you really didn't want to get to the boss in LFR, and I think it was red. And there was this person who was just like, all right, okay, me and my friend are going to go and kill the red ooze. It's going to be fine. And they didn't do it. And the red ooze got to the boss, and they spent the next 15 minutes apologizing for wiping the raid. Like, nice. I'm so sorry. It was completely my fault. I'm so sorry. The rest of it going, no. Don't worry. It's not your fault. It's like, we all could have helped. We could have seen it. We all could have helped. We were all there.
Right.
We were all there. We'll send another group with you. That it's fine. No. I'm so sorry. It's just me. It's the worst thing. And that doesn't happen anymore.
Well,
either there.
That was the beginning of LFR back in Dragon Soul was so different, because you had, I think that you had several people that really were discovering raiding for the first time, but then you had all these other people that were like, I am a regular raider and I am checking this out and I know what's going on and I know what to do, and so it was much more coordinated and much more friendly and much more kind of like, oh, that's my bad, whatever. Now it's just, I don't even know. It's some guy just randomly grabbing mobs. Yeah. Just trash,
It's not so good anymore.
Yeah. No. It's a little tough now. And I've done it recently. I just don't like it. So
I haven't done it.
You haven't?
I don't think I've done LFR full stop, like this tier at all.
I've done it a couple of times this tier, not much.
I almost want to, just so I can be like, oh, okay, I did it. But I don't know if there's a checkbox I want to have checked.
I hear you, and I hear that I've only done like the first three, and people just tell me nightmare stories about the fourth round of LFR, and they're like, you'll be in there for a week and a half. Like, well, I don't have time for that, so I'll just say no because I'm just like gearing up alts. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
Like, if you come in there on a boosted character or a boosty, they give you a hard time.
Yeah.
Like, really? That's not the point of this. Isn't that exactly what this content is for?
Right. You would think. Although if you are going in on a boosted character, please make sure that make sure to visit Ask Mr. Robot or something like that, and just do basic stuff. I mean, make sure you have enough hit points and expertise. I mean, that's still a thing until 6.0.
Reforge Light and just use that preset.
Yeah, I mean, do something to your gear so that at least you can hit things.
I can't believe that they gave people boosted 90s that weren't hit capped from the gear they were wearing. Like, seriously, Blizzard?
Yeah.
Seriously? Just at least make them hit capped.
Right.
Wow.
That was a little harsh. I was like,
yeah.
But hit's not a thing anymore.
That doesn't make sense.
No, it's not going to be a thing in Warlords. But I was just like a friend of mine came back to the game, hasn't played since Burning Crusade, boosted a rogue, and was just like running around. It's like they haven't played the game in 4 or 5 years or something like that. They're just like, why am I so bad? I was like, oh, I'll come out and like a jump on an EU character, come help you on the Time of Sile. And I was like, are you hit capped? And he's like, wait, what? I remember that. How do I check? I was like, okay, just send me a screenshot of your character pay. And I was like, yeah, no, you're not even close. You have 3% hit.
Right.
Like
3%?
3.6 or 3.7% hit on a rogue. And it's just like...
Because who needs white attacks ever?
Seriously?
I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, all right.
At least healers don't have to hit. Imagine if you're like heals could miss.
Disc priest, right? They have to hit. No, you don't need hit.
No, they have the passive.
That's right.
Divine focus, I think is what it's called.
I haven't played. I finally got my priest up to. I finally got my disc priest up to level 90.
Yay! So, did you do it or did you buy it?
I did it. I went from 1 to 90. I did it.
All you had? Did you just Drinking Bird Smite the whole time?
Pretty much. Yeah. That's all you need to do, right? I don't know.
There are other spells.
I didn't even open my spell book the entire time after I got that. So there you go. Hey, we are running a little bit long, so this has been a very cool conversation. I want to hit one question. I want to hit one question before we go. And so let's do that right now.
We've got mail.
We do. And if you have anything that you want to ask us about rating or whatever, just let us know. We'll try to answer it on the show, as always. You can email us at converttораid@gmail.com. You can call our raid line, 612-787-RAID, or you can join us during the live show. Try to flag us down somehow, and we'll see if we can get it on the show. And this one that I will read to you guys is from Mordu, second one down on the show notes. From Convert to Raid Guild on Airy Peak. Hey, look at that. We only have 8,000 characters. I'm surprised that one of them wrote into the show. It says, hey guys, one of the questions I have as we look forward to Warlords is if there will be a People's Legendary 2.0. Have you guys heard anything about this? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the experiment and what your recommendation to Blizzard would be if we did this. So have you guys heard about People's Legendary 2.0 for Warlords? Anyone?
Heard precisely nothing about a People's Legendary 2.0 for Warlords. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Like, I feel if you went to someone from Blizzard and said, do you feel that the Legendary experiment has been a success? They would answer with a yes. I think that they would probably modify things a little bit, like maybe make it less grindy from the outset. Like, I feel like their relatively early nerf to the Valor Point requirement is indicative of like changes that they might make in future. Me personally, I like the Tarragos's Rest model way more. The model of like Legendary acquisition. I prefer the Tarragos's Rest style.
So you want one every tier is what you're saying. I mean, that it felt right to you.
To me, that my personal one, I prefer that way of going about it. I know it sucks for guilds.
Yeah, because you go back and you do it again and again and again.
Yeah, I mean, but to me, like as someone who belonged to a casual 10-man guild during Firelands, we had one person to whom it was allocated. and we helped that one person, and like the guild worked together and they built that one person that thing. And my guild, I'm really lucky with my EU guild because they're all just like wonderful, lovely, friendly people who get along really well, close-knit, real-world friends. And we got this person, this staff, and it was great. We had a great time. We had a little party when they got it, and the dragon and the stuff, and we drank beer, and it was wonderful. And that was it. Then we were done. And if people want, like, then there was a couple of other people who wanted it, who were like, all right, can we go and do this? And people were like, yeah, sure, we'll help you out. You can pug it. And like, I prefer that model because, to quote a line from my favorite film, which by the way is The Incredibles, if everyone's special, no one is.
I thought you were going to say no capes.
Yeah.
Also no capes. That would have been an even better one. That film has so many applicable lines to the legendary quest chain.
No, you're right. If everyone is super, then no one is. I think it does ride an interesting line because you have that issue with guilds who feel forced to go farm it again and again. I mean, we were running Firelands until every dang caster and the healers, because you would switch, got it. And it was just like, oh God, here we are again.
Right.
Time to get more, embers or whatever. And it's a little bit tricky. And then the other model, which was the whole pure RNG drop of like Warglaves, for example, that's not fun either. Because, you could just have one guild that has rained legendaries on just by luck of the draw, and then another one that just never sees them, or they only see the offhand, not the main hand. And that doesn't feel fun either. But I do think one of the things I think that was really successful with the legendary, this expansion, which is both kind of a double-edged sword, is because you felt like you progressed through the legendary storyline so well. Like you had something that was really important for you in that particular tier. I don't necessarily think, I think the metagem was a little bit weird because it came with you in the next tier as well, whereas the Shaw-touched weapons were a little bit different. You had it for that tier, and then you moved on. It wasn't really a concern for you going forward.
Right.
So it had an interesting kind of like touch to it, and you kind of got this like, this capstone legendary cloak that really felt powerful and important to you. But if you were coming to the game or took a break from the game, you had, or switched from a main to an alt, you had this big catch-up problem. And it's definitely a problem. I mean, you have people applying to guilds now that are just coming back to the game.
Right.
And you're like, oh, well, where are you in the legendary process? Oh, you're just doing Valor. Okay, well, that means you're the earliest you'll get it will be XYZ. And that doesn't feel right either. And if they can address that, and you feel like you're getting something at the end of it, and so it doesn't feel quite as grindy, like that's good.
That's my biggest problem right now, because I've been trying to do this. Like I said, I've been gearing up some alts lately, and one of the things that I want to do is I want to get the cloak, because I mean, who wouldn't? It's got a cool proc on it, and it looks awesome, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so my biggest problem is that I'm starting from 1. Yeah. And that is a really hard place to start.
Yeah.
There was no catch-up mechanic or system.
No, and it's like, it blows my mind that there isn't one yet. Like, it kind of like, I mean, I don't, and for complete honesty and clarity, as many people who follow me on Twitter will know, I don't have any legendary cloaks.
No.
Like, I flat out refuse to do it.
Right.
Because I don't want one. And like, what would I use it for?
And it's like, you're supposed to get this for Siege of Orgrimmar, and Siege has been out for 9 months now, and why isn't there
there a catch up?
Right. Why haven't they?
I mean, there is like the interesting the data mining of the very recent 5.4.8 PTR indicated that they are actually introducing a catch up thing with this Gaze of Rathian item, which it buffs your Black Prince rep gain, which everyone just sort of went, that's the easy part. And as someone who has no interest in it, but actually picked up the quest on one character, I already am like high Black Prince rep gain just from doing all the rares. So I agree. But it also increases the drop rate of all these drop items. And I think that one, like with the consideration that I haven't done it, one big failure, which I've seen from talking to a lot of people about it, is the random drop items. Like if you can put in all the time in the world and still not get enough runestones. Yeah. Like they were guaranteed drop off of Lei Shen, I think. You could guarantee to get 1. But like that was a huge deal. I mean,
that was heartbreaking, is you get nothing the entire raid week, and then you're like, oh, my 1 off Lei Shen, awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. That's what it is.
Yeah. For sure, and it's just
drop
like
off of rares. Just make them.
And they added them into the raids like going forward, so the newer raids would drop the older items, so you didn't have to go back and do freaking Mogishan vaults again to get whichever sigil it was that dropped from there.
Right.
But I just would prefer it if they didn't. Like if they did it, like here's an idea, and like I'm interested to see what Derevka thinks on this one. If they did it so that everyone could get one, but it was a green fire style thing, where you had to get one item that dropped from a rare, and then you had to do a series of quests and something difficult, and then you got a legendary, and that could be spread out through the expansion. Like,
and then you had to go through a proving ground, and then you had to do some PvP.
Yeah, but you had to do content. I mean, maybe not PvP, because I know PvE is hate being forced into PvP just as much as the
reverse. Right. But I thought it's not that different than like the old Benediction quests.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you get something and you have to do a quest line to kind of get it, and it feels like you're participating in it. And they kind of did it with the whole not instances, the other ones, the little mini instances. Oh my god, scenarios to kind of like progressing you through it. And you kind of went and did a scenario by yourself, and you did that on Isle of Thunder, and you kind of progressed through that, and you unlocked the areas on the map. That style, I think, would be a lot more friendly to the catch-up situation. Yeah. But it does certainly make it easier as well. Like not just it makes the concept of getting it easy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like once you get, like, I love the idea of it. Once you get to that point, like, why even have legendaries? Like, what? I mean, why are they even there? Like, what's the point?
Because somebody introduced them and then they couldn't get rid of them.
There you go. Can't take stuff out once you put it in.
Then I have an orange. What does an orange mean then?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the carrot.
Right.
Yeah. Everyone gets juicy crunch carrots. Yeah, exactly.
That's it. All right. Hey, that's going to have to do it for now for the questions and all that kind of stuff. But we do have some other stuff to get through. And like 5-star reviews. We should give a shout out to listeners who recently gave us a 5-star review on iTunes. And I'm going to make you guys say these because we have a lot this week. So Olivia, why don't you take the ones in green on the show notes?
Okie dokie. So I'm just reading out these 5-star reviews from Big Not So Bad John.
That's right.
Nomed Dirk. You gave me the hard ones to say.
No.
Nomed Dirkas.
Yeah.
Stephen Roach. Yeah. And Supreme Big Head.
Supreme Big Head. I love that one. And Derevka, you get the last 4 there.
So then we also got to thank the real Gronjo, Wingi Illidan Horde, King 717 Fun, and Pahan.
There we go. Thank you all. Thank you guys for all the for the love on iTunes. That's good. And I do have one shout out to give. This came from an email from Medrex, and it was congratulations to Erador in the Convert to Raid Guild and his wife Emily, as they welcome home a new baby raider to their family, the baby of Leet, Noel. So I will give you the big applause. That's awesome. That's great.
Happy Mother's Day.
And a happy Mother's Day.
Wife Emily.
Yeah, to Emily and to all to everybody's mom out there, and to all the moms that are listening to the show. Hope you have a great day. For those guys that are watching the live show, hope you had a great day. For those guys listening to it back on the interwebs. And thank you. We cannot do this show without you guys. Thanks for taking the time to rate us on iTunes. Thanks for all the feedback. Thanks for the questions. And please join in on all the conversations we're having at any time. And I got to bail on the music. There we go. Because I got to play, let's see, this one. There we go. You can email us at convertraid@gmail.com. You can call us and leave comments and questions on our raid line, 612-787-RAID. That's 612-787-7243. You can follow us on Twitter at convertraid or individually. I am at Pat Krane. Derevka, you are at Derevka.
That's true.
Yeah. And Olivia, you are at Olivia D. Grace. Right?
That is also true.
And of course, you have the other guys at _Coltrane, and Darius is at BoredMind. You can join the Bazooba Nation by heading over to convertraid.com, where we have our show downloads, our forums, we have tons of links for raiders, we have our videos, and so much more. It's all over at convertraid.com. Our live feed and video show is at gamebreaker.tv. Please make sure to watch, like, comment, share, subscribe, do whatever you do over on the YouTubes. Please do that. And the audio show is available on Stitcher, BlackBerry Podcast Directory, iTunes, all sorts of places like that, so feel free to sub there as well. Just do it. It's so much easier that way.
Do it now.
All right, that is going to do it for the show. By the way, Derevka, Olivia, thank you guys for joining us today. It's been just a wonderful, wonderful conversation that we've had. And you guys get the big applause as well.
Yay! Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, it definitely was fun. And it's such a treat to get away from those other two monkeys.
Oh my God, those guys.
Those guys.
Seriously.
Did Colt actually make it to Russia?
As far as we know, yes. He's in Russia now.
Yeah. In the motherland.
That's right. All right.
Soviet Russia.
That's going to be it for the show. We hope you guys had a good time, and thank you so much for joining us each and every week right here. You can see us next week on the show before the command center changes. Oh, boy. Sunday, 11 a.m. Central. And for everybody here on the Convert to Raid family, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.